You know, a lot of people think canning and sewing, things like that, are outdated. They think that they're for women. They shouldn't, men shouldn't be doing that. Men should be watching football and getting drunk and going to the bar and doing stupid stuff. I don't know if you've noticed yet, but the world is totally upside down, and it's been upside down for a good long while now. And what I want to talk to everybody about is the importance of learning to take care of your things on your own. Specifically, canning, specifically, storing food. We go to the store. I deliver HelloFresh boxes all the time. I see the amount of the American population ordering online, whether it is Grubhub, whether it is, ordering, like I said, the HelloFresh boxes. People go to the store and they pick out their sugary snacks. But the importance of growing your own food and learning to store your own food is a valuable asset that I think a lot of people need to learn very quickly, or you're not going to make it the next couple years and or decade with power outages and all that good stuff. You can buy prepared food, emergency food, all you want. You're paying 5 times as much as it would cost to produce it on your own. And it's good to have, don't get me wrong. I have some. I have a bunch of canned food. I have a bunch of MREs. I have a bunch of, just emergency food, Mountain House, all that good stuff. I have that stuff as a prepper, as you should. But you need to learn to produce your own food, because when that runs out, you need to continue the cycle. And not only that, but storing your food. You only have so much freezer space. You only have so much refrigerator space. And when the power goes out, like it will, guaranteed, maybe not permanently, but if there's an EMP or a big solar flare or China, sends out a nuke, or if there's a hurricane about to happen and it knocks out your power, things in the refrigerator and the freezer go bad very quickly, and it's no good. You can spend hundreds of thousands of dollars over, 5-10 years, lifetime, whatever, putting food in your freezer, and it doesn't last that long. It honestly doesn't. Frozen, meat only lasts a year or so, and you burn through it anyway. You know how much you eat in a year, especially if you have a family. I have a family of 4. It doesn't last that long. And any longer than that, it gets freezer burned. It doesn't taste good. I still freeze meat, though, because it's convenient. And, I have the vacuum sealer. And I still freeze things. But I also can things. And that is one of the most important things that you're going to need to have in the coming whatever is happening in the world. It honestly is. Learning to can in your location, whether your altitude is higher or lower, that is something. Maybe I'm going to start whatever it's called on YouTube, a little series on how I can things. And you don't need to can everything, but you need to learn how to can the basics. You need to learn how to can beans and carrots and stuff like that. You also need to learn how to can meat. Meat is something that needs to be canned. Not only because when the power goes out, it's going to spoil very quickly, but again, how much freezer space do you have? It's kind of common sense. And you can also dehydrate it. I suggest everybody learn how to dehydrate and how to smoke your own meat. You can do these things without electricity. Dehydrating, it's easier. I have a electric dehydrator. But you can also dehydrate it outside too. You can smoke it outside. You can learn to build smoke huts and just use wood. God gives us everything we need to stock up, to store what we need. And canning, the only thing that you need from society, I guess, in that aspect, is a canner and jars and extra lids. I have a buttload, and I mean buttload, I mean a really big buttload of cans that I have stocked up over the years. Every time I go to the store, I try to buy, a couple extras, cases anyway. But I also, more importantly, buy the lids, because once you use the lids, it is suggested that you don't reuse them, because a lot of times you don't get a good seal. There are instances where I have reused them and it turned out fine. It all depends on if it can seal or not. But that's one of the most important things you will need to learn how to do, is to store your food through the winter. Because when it's wintertime and it's the end of the world or the apocalypse and all this crazy stuff is going on, you're not going to make it if you can't eat. Nothing grows in the winter. Not where I'm at. Maybe down in Florida you might grow something. I don't know. The majority of the people, though, are in where it gets cold, where things do not grow. So that is something that we need to learn. It is not a female thing to do, to learn how to produce your own stuff. And, you're canning, man. That's stupid. That's what girls do, man. No, man. Because I go hunting and I can my meat. Like, I'm preparing my family for when they get hungry, when there is no food in the grocery store, when supply chains get backed up again. I don't know if y'all have noticed or read, but there may potentially be a pretty big strike on the East Coast with shipping. Not to mention, anybody remember 2020? When supply chains got all backed up and you couldn't buy what you needed to buy? It was only 4 years ago, but I guarantee a lot of people forgot it already. Canning is one of the most essential things to learn how to do. Without food, you are dead. You can get water. You can find sources of water. There's always flowing springs. There's always water to be collected, rainwater, whatever. You can filter water, but you can't grow food in a short period of time. It can take me 15 minutes to find water, 20, 30 minutes. It could, to find water, boil it, purify it, clean it, and drink it. Make coffee, make hot chocolate, whatever. But it takes months to grow food. And it takes a long time to learn how to can. And if you mess up while you're learning when the grid's down, you don't get a second chance, people. You do not get to say, I messed up. Time to go to the store and buy, and I'll try next year. Because if the store doesn't have it, if there are rations, like there were back in World War II, if you get a, stamp that says you're allowed to buy food, or if you don't get a stamp and say, hey, you're not allowed to buy food, like it talks about in the Bible, you're not going to eat. It's simple. So when people say, that's something that them crazy people do, or that's something girls would do, if you don't have a woman in your life, if you're single, learn to can. If you are married, learn to can. And teach your spouse to can with you. And if you're a female, teach your husband how to can in case anything happens to you. Don't sit there and tell people that, it's a girl thing or a boy thing or a man thing or a woman thing or whatever. Survival isn't about gender. It's not about your sexual orientation. Survival is about learning how to do things to continue life. And food preservation is one of the most important ones. Besides shelter and water, food is the hardest thing to learn how to do and the longest thing to learn, how to do. I see people build houses in a couple of days with a group of men. I know where to get water at. However, food, I know how to plant food, I know how to grow food, but the time is what it takes. And preparing it properly so you don't give yourself botulism or you don't kill your family, you don't poison them by accident. Learning how to do those is a critical thing for preppers to learn how to do. Do not rely on your MREs. Do not rely on, your emergency food or your canned food. You need to learn how to store what you grow. That way you can continue the cycle every year. There are a lot of things that you don't even need to can, and they can last all winter as long as you store them properly. There's a reason that they used to make root cellars back in before there was refrigeration. There's a lot of vegetables that you can keep in a root cellar. That's why it's called a root cellar, because the roots of the plant, like pumpkins and squash and potatoes and carrots and all that good stuff, you can keep underground and they will last for months. But the meat, the protein, fish, like those are, you're going to die if you don't have them, people. Just something to think about. Try to learn how to can. They're not that expensive. You go out and you spend more money at the bar in one night than a canner costs. You go to a football game, you spend way more money. You can buy an $8 hot dog at a football stadium, or you can buy an $11 case of cans. And you can buy your pectin, and you can buy, your canning salt, and you can get all that stuff. You can get everything you need to can, just start canning for $100, maybe. I bought a Presto. It's a 23 quart Presto. I think I got it at Royal King. It's a farm store around me. It's like $100 maybe, not even. And that was like 3 or 4 years ago. It doesn't take much, man, but it takes consistent practice on doing things. I messed up a lot when I first started. There are a lot of things that go into canning. There are a lot of things that you can mess up, small, minute things that you can mess up, and they have drastic consequences. They have extremely dire consequences if you mess them up. And it's better to learn now while the electricity is on, while we have power, while you can mess up and go out and buy more supplies if you mess up. Just a thought on people that think food preservation is something that only women do. Because if you want to live in the new world that we are about to go into, you might want to learn how to do it. Have a great day.